I'm Jennifer Duggan. I'm a freelance journalist. I write on climate change and environment stories. I'm a grantee of the Pulitzer Centre, and I received a grant from the Pulitzer Centre to travel to the Lebanon and the Arctic Circle to report on a story about seeds linked to global food security with links to the war in Syria. First of all, I travelled to Lebanon, to the Bekaa Valley, close to the border with Syria, a small village called Al Hadia. There I visited some scientists who they do important research on agriculture. They'd previously been based just outside Aleppo, and they had a big, large research organisation called Duggan, and their headquarters were based just outside of Aleppo. As part of their work, they also have a huge collection of seeds that they collect from all over the region and even all over the world. And it's a really important resource for global food security. As the world has to deal with climate change and things like drought, disease, new strains of crops need to be developed to cope with these threats and challenges. And quite often the strains and I suppose attributes that are needed to deal with these challenges are held in seeds that are not maybe in widespread use, that are older seeds, like maybe some older varieties or wild varieties. And it's these type of varieties that Icardo kept in their seed vault, their seed bank outside of Aleppo. When the war started, Icardo eventually had to evacuate their staff. Their compound was taken over by rebels, and most of their staff had to flee. Some very dedicated Syrian staff stayed on to try to maintain the seed vault, but eventually they too had to leave the seed collection behind. Unfortunately, they weren't able to transfer their seed collection, and they had to leave it where it was. So they had to restart their collection again from scratch. Thankfully, they had sent samples of all of their seeds to the seed vault in the Arctic Circle, and they were the first organisation to make a withdrawal from the seed vault. So they have reset up their research again, both in Lebanon and Morocco, and I got to spend some time with them in Lebanon to see the work that they do, and also to hear their story about how they saved a lot of their resources, their work, and their experiences during the war and afterwards, and re-establishing their collection again. I also got to travel to the Arctic Circle to go to the global seed vault to see where seeds from all over the world are saved. It's quite often dubbed the Doomsday Vault, so seeds from every country nearly in the world sends seeds to this particular collection, and it's a big cold vault, basically buried into the side of a mountain in the Arctic Circle on Svalbard, the Svalbard archipelago, which is the furthest north that you can fly in a commercial airline. It belongs to Norway, and it's closer to the Arctic Circle than it is to Norway. The seeds are kept in temperatures of -20°C, with the idea that in situations like the war in Syria, or I guess a bigger issue, climate change is one of the big considerations, that as temperatures rise, that our crops won't be able to cope with rising temperatures or drought. So the idea is that these seeds are kept in safekeeping, so that if there's a natural disaster in one area, that agriculture can be started up again with these seeds. So they take them, they grow the crops again, and then they save the seeds, and they save those again, they send them back to the Arctic Circle. Hadn't actually been expected that the vault would probably need to be used so soon, but the war in Syria really proved how useful this collection is. So it was very interesting to spend the time in both of those places, two very, very different places, but a very interlinked story, and it just shows how important something as small as seeds are to global food security and need to be preserved.